The alarm screamed through the halls of Refuge Station Gamma 7. Ambassador Thelmora pressed her three-fingered hand against the cold metal wall and tried to stay calm. Outside her window, she could see the dark shapes of enemy ships. 12 of them, all Kethrid warships, all carrying death. Her assistant ran into the room, his silver skin pale with fear. Ambassador, they've breached the outer ring. Security says we have maybe 6 hours before they reach the residential sectors. Thelmora nodded slowly. 6 hours. 3,000 Valorans lived on this station. Scientists, diplomats, children. None of them were soldiers. None of them deserved to die like this. Send the distress signal, she said. All channels. All frequencies. But, Ambassador, the nearest Galactic Union fleet is 47 light-years away. Even if they left right now, it would take them 5 weeks to— I know the math, Thelmora interrupted.
Send it anyway.
Someone should know what happened here. Someone should know we existed. Her assistant's hand shook as he activated the communication system. The message went out across the galaxy, a desperate cry into the void. Help us, please, anyone. Thelmora didn't expect an answer. The universe was very large and help was very far away. 47 light-years away on Earth's moon, Lieutenant Hana sat in the communications center. It was a boring night shift, the kind where nothing happened for hours. She liked it that way. Quiet meant safe. Then her screen lit up with an incoming signal. She read it once, then twice, then grabbed her phone and called her superior officer. Sir, we have a situation. Refuge Station Gamma 7 is under attack. Kethrid raiders. They're asking for help. Where's the nearest Union fleet? The officer asked. 5 weeks away, sir. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then, forward it to Admiral Kang. Let him decide. Hana sent the message up the chain of command. She didn't know if it would matter. Earth was new to the Galactic Union. Only 12 years as members. They were still learning the rules, still trying to prove themselves to the older species. What could Earth do that the mighty Union couldn't? But she didn't know about the Shadow Fleet. Very few people did. Admiral Day Kang read the message in his office deep beneath Earth's surface. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much combat. He had spent 30 years in Earth's military, rising through the ranks by making hard choices. This was another hard choice. The Shadow Fleet was Earth's secret. 3 stealth frigates and 1 carrier, all equipped with experimental fold-space drives. The technology was dangerous, unstable, and broke every rule of conventional physics. But it worked. Most of the time. Kang pulled up the statistics on his screen. Refuge Station Gamma 7, 3,000 civilians, 12 Kethrid warships. The math was terrible, but math had never stopped humans before. He pressed a button on his desk. Wake Commander Tay, tell him we're going to war. 20 minutes later, Commander Tae-Yoon stood in the briefing room. He was younger than Kang, lean and quick like a knife. His team filed in behind him, all of them looking alert despite being woken in the middle of the night. Kang pulled up a hologram of Refuge Station. Kethrid siege. 3,000 Valoran civilians trapped inside. Nearest help is 5 weeks away. And us? They asked. 31 hours if we use the fold drive. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what the fold drive meant. 1 in every 100 ships that used it never came back. The journey tore them apart somewhere between stars, scattered their atoms across light years. But 99 times out of 100 it worked perfectly. Captain Jiasong, Tae's second-in-command, spoke up. What are our orders, Admiral? Kang looked at each of them in turn. These were Earth's best soldiers, pulled from every special forces unit on the planet. They had trained for years in secret, learning to fight in zero gravity, learning alien languages, learning how to kill things that weren't human. The Galactic Union thinks we're primitives, Kang said. They think we're soft because we haven't been in space very long. They don't know what we've been building. They don't know what we can do, he paused. I'm ordering the Shadow Fleet to Refuge Station. You will eliminate the Kethrid threat and extract the civilians. Questions? Lieutenant Sung Ho raised his hand. He was the demolitions expert, the one who loved explosives a little too much. What if the Kethrid don't want to leave peacefully? Kang's expression didn't change. Then show them what happens when they threaten innocence while Earth is listening. The team nodded. They didn't cheer or shout. They simply understood. Someone had called for help and Earth was answering. Tay saluted. We'll bring them home, sir. 2 hours later, the Shadow Fleet launched from Earth's dark side where no satellites could see them. The 4 ships looked like shadows themselves, black as space and twice as cold. Inside the carrier called Silent Requiem, 150 soldiers prepared for combat. Sergeant Yuri Nam cleaned her sniper rifle with practiced hands. She had killed from distances that other species thought impossible. Her record was 4 kilometers in low gravity. She planned to break that record soon. Corporal Wu Jin checked his medical supplies. He was a combat medic, which meant he saved lives and took them in equal measure. He had never lost a patient in the field. He didn't plan to start now. The fold space drive hummed to life, a sound like reality being torn in half. The ship shuddered, space twisted, and they were gone. Shooting through dimensions that humans barely understood, racing toward a battle that no one expected them to win. On Refuge Station, Thelmora gathered her people in the core sectors. The Kethrid were in the outer rings now, killing anyone they found. She could hear the weapons fire getting closer. "I'm sorry," she told the families huddled in the shelter. "I sent the message, but help is too far away." "I'm so sorry." A young Velarin child looked up at her with large eyes. Did anyone answer? Thelmora opened her mouth to say no, but then she stopped. She thought about the message traveling through space at light speed, reaching 1,000 worlds, touching 1,000,000 ears. "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I hope so. I really hope so." In the darkness between stars, the Silent Requiem tore through space faster than light, faster than hope, racing toward people who thought no one would come. Earth's shadows were coming, and they were going to arrive first. The fold space drive made a sound like screaming metal. Commander Tae-Yoon stood on the bridge of the Silent Requiem and watched space bend around them. Outside the windows, stars stretched into lines of light. Physics broke and reformed every second. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. 29 hours until arrival, the navigation officer reported. "Drives are holding steady at 97%. Tae nodded. 97% was good. Anything above 90 meant they probably wouldn't explode into atoms. Probably. He had made this journey 6 times before. Each time he wondered if it would be his last. Captain Jia Song stood beside him, studying the tactical display. The hologram showed refuge stations surrounded by red dots, 12 Kethrid warships, each one 3 times the size of their frigates. "They have us outnumbered and outgunned," Jia said quietly. "They always do," Tae replied. "That's why we don't fight fair." In the hangar bay, the soldiers of Shadow Team 1 prepared their equipment. They moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons and running system diagnostics on their armor. No one talked much. They didn't need to. They had trained together for 3 years. Words were unnecessary. Lieutenant Sung Ho sat on an equipment crate, building a small explosive device with his eyes closed. His teammates had learned not to disturb him when he worked. Sung Ho had an almost religious relationship with explosives. He understood them in ways that made engineers nervous. "You planning to blow something up?" asked Sergeant Yuri Nam, walking past with her rifle case. "I'm planning to blow everything up," Sung Ho replied without opening his eyes. "Just depends on what Admiral Kang wants destroyed first," Yuri smiled. She liked Sung Ho. He was honest about enjoying his job. She understood that. There was something pure about being good at what you did, even if what you did was violent. She found a quiet corner and began assembling her rifle. It was a custom weapon, modified from alien technology but improved with human engineering. The barrel was longer than standard, the scope more sensitive. In her hands, it could reach targets that other snipers couldn't imagine hitting. Corporal Wu Jin made rounds through the ship, checking on each soldier. As the senior medic, he knew everyone's medical history, their injuries, their weaknesses. He knew who had bad knees, who got motion sickness in zero gravity, who carried old bullet wounds that ached in cold environments. "How's the shoulder?" he asked one soldier. "Fine, Doc." Wu Jin pressed 2 fingers against the joint, feeling for tension. "You're lying. Take these before we deploy." He handed over anti-inflammatory pills. "And if it locks up during combat, you fall back immediately. Understood?" "Yes, Doc." Wu Jin moved on. He wasn't just a medic. He was a soldier who could heal. There was a difference. He had killed 14 enemy combatants in his last deployment, all while keeping 3 wounded teammates alive. He could do both at the same time without hesitation. On the bridge, Tae received an updated report from intelligence. The situation at Refuge Station had gotten worse. The Kethrid had breached the second defensive ring. Civilian casualties were mounting. "Can we go faster?" Tay asked the navigation officer. "Not without ripping the ship apart, sir." Tay clenched his jaw. Faster wasn't an option. They were already pushing the fold drive beyond recommended limits. All they could do was wait and plan. Gia pulled up detailed schematics of Kethrid warships. Their ships have thick armor but weak sensor arrays. If we approach from the dark side of the station, we might get close before they detect us. "Might isn't good enough," Tay said. "We need to get inside their defensive perimeter before they know we exist. That's impossible with conventional stealth." "Then, we don't use conventional stealth." Tay turned to the communications officer. "Can we hack their sensor network?" "If we get within range, yes. But that means getting close enough for them to see us." Tay thought for a moment. What if we make them look the wrong way? He outlined his plan. It was risky. It required perfect timing. But it might work. Hours passed. The ship hurtled through fold space while the crew ran simulations. They practiced the assault over and over in virtual reality, memorizing every corridor, every choke point, every potential ambush location. Tay gathered the team leaders in the briefing room. Besides Gia and himself, there was Sung-Ho, Yuri, and 3 other squad commanders. 7 people who would coordinate 150 soldiers in the most dangerous combat operation Earth had ever attempted. "The Kethrid think they're fighting civilians," Tay said. "They expect fear and surrender. They don't expect resistance. That's our advantage." "They're bigger than us," one squad commander pointed out. "Stronger too. Their natural armor can stop small arms fire." "Then we don't use small arms," Sung-Ho said cheerfully. "We use big arms." "Really big arms." Tay allowed himself a small smile. "Exactly. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't stop until they're all dead or running. The mission is simple. Eliminate the threat and save the civilians." "In that order. What about prisoners?" another commander asked. "The Kethrid don't take prisoners," Gia said coldly. "We'll extend them the same courtesy." The room was silent. They all understood. This wasn't a police action or a peacekeeping mission. This was war, pure and simple. The kind of war that humans had spent centuries perfecting on Earth before they ever reached the stars. 24 hours into the journey, they received another message from Refugee Station. It was audio only, heavily damaged by interference, but they could hear weapons fire in the background and screaming. Ambassador Thelmora's voice came through, weak and tired. "This is Refuge Station Gamma 7. We have fallen back to the core sectors. The Kethrid control 70% of the station. We estimate 6 hours before they breach our final defenses. If anyone receives this message, please tell our families we fought as long as we could. Tell them The transmission cut off. Tay played it again and again, listening to the fear in Thelmora's voice, the resignation. She thought she was going to die. She thought everyone was going to die. 5 hours until arrival, the navigation officer announced. Tay stood up. "Wake everyone. Battle stations. I want to hit the ground running the moment we drop out of fold space." The ship came alive with activity. Soldiers grabbed weapons and lined up in deployment pods. Engineers ran final checks on the stealth systems. Pilots climbed into strike fighters that hung from the ceiling like sleeping bats. In her quarters, Gia put on her combat armor piece by piece. The suit was black as night, covered with sensors and stealth plating. She looked at herself in the mirror. She looked like death. She smiled. Good. In the medical bay, Wu Jin prepared trauma kits and loaded them onto automated stretchers. He hoped he wouldn't need them all. But he packed them anyway. On the firing range, Yuri took one last practice shot. The target was 500 meters away. She hit it exactly center. The rifle felt right in her hands. Everything would be fine. 4 hours. 3 hours. 2 hours. Tay stood in the deployment bay, surrounded by his soldiers. They were ready. They had trained for this. They were the best Earth had to offer. "Remember," he said quietly, "the galaxy thinks humans are weak. They think we're soft. They think we arrived late to space and we don't belong here." He paused. "Let's show them why predators from Earth shouldn't be underestimated." 1 hour. The fold space drive began to wind down. Space started to return to normal. Stars stopped stretching. 30 minutes. The silent Requiem and its 3 escort frigates approached the edge of the system. Their stealth systems activated, bending light around them, absorbing sensor pings. 10 minutes. On refuge station, the Kethrid prepared for their final assault. They laughed and sharpened their weapons. Victory was close, 5 minutes. In the darkness of space, 4 ships that shouldn't exist appeared like ghosts, silent, invisible, deadly. Tay checked his rifle one last time. Shadow teams, this is Commander Tay, we are in position. Commence Operation Midnight Rescue. Show them what Earth's shadows can do. The hunt began. War Leader Kresh stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the station burn. He was massive, even for a Kethrid, 3 meters tall with armored skin like living rock. His 4 arms ended in claws that had torn apart countless enemies. He was very good at killing, and he enjoyed his work. The Valorans have retreated to the core sectors, his tactical officer reported. They have sealed the blast doors. It will take us 3 hours to cut through. 3 hours? Kresh growled. Unacceptable. Use plasma charges. I want those doors open in 1 hour. Yes, War Leader. Kresh smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Valorans had fought better than expected. Not good, but better. It didn't matter. They would all die. They always did. His communications officer suddenly stood up, mandibles clicking nervously. War Leader, we've lost contact with patrol ships 7 and 9. What do you mean, lost contact? Their signal stopped. No warning, no distress calls. They just stopped. Kresh's smile faded. Send a team to investigate. 10 minutes later, the investigation team also went silent. Now Kresh was interested. Equipment failures didn't happen to 3 ships at once. Pull back all patrol ships. Bring them close to the flagship, and someone tell me what's happening out there. But there was nothing to see. Space was empty. The sensors showed nothing. Everything appeared normal. On the hull of Kresh's flagship, Commander Tae-Yoon attached a magnetic clamp to the metal surface. His team floated around him in the vacuum of space, invisible to the sensors inside. Their suits bent light and absorbed electromagnetic radiation. To the Kethrid, they simply didn't exist. Tay placed a breaching charge on the hull. It was a small device, carefully designed to cut through armor without alerting internal sensors. Sung Ho had built it himself during the journey. It would make a hole just large enough for a person to slip through. Team 1 in position, Tay whispered into his comm. Breaching in 30 seconds. Team 2 in position, reported Captain Jia from another Kethrid ship. Ready to breach. Team 3 in position, said Lieutenant Sung Ho from a 3rd ship. He sounded excited. He was probably smiling. All teams, this is Admiral Kang from the Silent Requiem. You are cleared to engage. Remember, no mercy for slavers and murderers. Good hunting. The charges detonated silently in the vacuum. Tay dropped through the hole into a maintenance corridor. His team followed, moving like water flowing downhill. Fast, quiet, unstoppable. They moved through the ship in complete silence. The Kethrid had excellent hearing, so the humans didn't make sounds. They communicated through hand signals and helmet displays. Each movement was practiced, each step placed perfectly. The first Kethrid they encountered was an engineer working on a power conduit. He never saw them coming. Tay cut his throat with a monomolecular blade before the alien could turn around. The body fell silently. They hid it in a storage locker and kept moving. 2 more Kethrid in a corridor. Yuri shot them both from 30 meters away. 2 shots, 2 kills. The silenced weapon barely whispered. The aliens dropped. A patrol of 5 Kethrid, too many for silent kills. Tay made a hand signal. His team raised their weapons. On his mark, they fired. All 5 enemies died in less than 2 seconds. The humans dragged the bodies into a side room and sealed the door. They reached the ship's main computer core. Tay pulled out a hacking device built from reverse-engineered alien technology. It connected to the Kethrid systems and began downloading data. Ship layouts, communication codes, patrol routes, everything they needed. Team 1 to all units, Tay reported. We have access to their network. Uploading tactical data now. On the station, Sergeant Yuri and her sniper team had infiltrated through the damaged hull sections. They moved through the superstructure, crawling through maintenance shafts and air vents. The Kethrid never looked up. That was their first mistake. Yuri found a perfect position in the ceiling above a major corridor. She could see Kethrid raiders below, preparing to assault the core sectors. She counted 20 targets. Her rifle had a 20-round magazine. She started shooting. The first Kethrid dropped with a hole through his head. The second died before the first hit the ground. The third and fourth tried to find cover, but Yuri anticipated their movements. She was faster. By the time the remaining Kethrid realized they were under attack, half their squad was dead. They fired wildly at nothing, hitting their own people, panicking. Yuri shot them one by one, calm as ice. In 30 seconds, all 20 were dead. She reloaded and moved to the next position. On Kresh's flagship, Captain Gia and her team had taken a different approach. They didn't try to stay hidden. Instead, they announced their presence. Gia hacked into the ship's internal communication system and played a recording throughout the entire vessel. It was the sound of Kethrid screaming, the sound of their own warriors dying in terror. She had recorded it from the ships they had already cleared. The psychological effect was immediate. The Kethrid crew heard their comrades dying over the speakers, and panic spread like fire. They abandoned their posts, grabbed weapons, and started shooting at shadows. Gia's team used the chaos. They moved through the confusion, killing enemies who were too scared to fight effectively. The Kethrid were large and strong, but fear made them clumsy. And humans were very good at using fear as a weapon. Lieutenant Sung Ho had the most fun. He had planted explosives throughout his target ship, while the crew was distracted by the initial breach. Now he sat in a stolen fighter craft in the hangar bay, watching his timer count down. Team 3 to all units, he reported cheerfully. I'm about to make a lot of noise. Hope nobody was trying to be stealthy. Sung Ho, wait, Tay started to say. The explosives detonated. The Kethrid ship shuddered as internal explosions tore through its power systems, life support, and weapons arrays. Lights flickered and died. Gravity failed. Emergency alarm screamed. Sung Ho launched his stolen fighter through the chaos and flew toward the next target. Behind him, the crippled ship drifted helplessly in space. Sorry, Commander, Sung Ho said, but I'm not a stealth guy. I'm more of a blow-everything-up guy. Despite the situation, Tay almost smiled. Noted. Try not to blow up the station while you're at it. Inside the core sectors of Refuge Station, Ambassador Thelmora heard the change first. The weapons fire outside had stopped. The Kethrid raiders who had been preparing to breach their final defenses were gone. She could hear sounds of fighting in the distance, but different sounds, human sounds. Her communication console beeped. She stared at it in disbelief. The message was in perfect Velaran. Ambassador Thelmora, this is Commander Tai Yun, United Earth Space Command. We're here to get you out. Stay in cover. Help is closer than you think. Thelmora's hand shook as she typed a response. Commander, how? The distance. It's impossible. We ran, came the reply. Can you and your people fight? Chief Velkin, the Velaran security chief, stepped forward. We're not soldiers, Ambassador. We're scientists and diplomats. Thelmora looked at him, then at the message on her screen. These humans had crossed impossible distances to save people they had never met. They were fighting and dying for strangers. We're not soldiers, she agreed. But we're not helpless either. Tell the commander we'll fight. She sent the message and grabbed a plasma rifle from the weapons locker. Velkin did the same. Soon every Valoran who could hold a weapon was armed and ready. Where do they need us? Velkin asked. Before Thelmora could answer, the sealed blast door in front of them exploded inward. She raised her weapon, ready to die fighting. But instead of Kethrid raiders, a human in black armor stepped through the smoke. Commander Tay Yun looked at the assembled Velarans, saw their weapons, and nodded with approval. Good, he said simply. Follow me. We have a station to take back. Thelmora fell in behind him. As they moved through the corridors, she saw the evidence of Earth's shadows. Dead Kethrid everywhere, killed with precision and efficiency that was almost artistic. The humans moved like they were born for this, like violence was a language they spoke fluently. War leader Kresh finally understood. He was being hunted. His ships were falling silent one by one. His raiders on the station were dying. An enemy he couldn't see was destroying his entire force. Retreat, he ordered. All ships jumped to fold space immediately. But it was too late. Sung Ho's explosives had damaged the fold drive on one ship. Tay's team had sabotaged the engines on another. Gia had killed the bridge crew of a third. Only Kresh's flagship and 3 escort ships managed to engage their drives. They disappeared into fold space, running from an enemy that had appeared from nowhere and fought like demons. In the sudden silence, Tay stood on the station's command deck and surveyed the damage. 8 Kethrid ships destroyed or captured. 4 had escaped, 0 human casualties. He opened a channel to all Earth forces. Shadow teams, this is Commander Tay. Station is secure. Begin casualty assessment and medical treatment. We're bringing everyone home. War leader Kresh's escape was short-lived. His flagship dropped out of fold space only 30,000 kilometers from the station. The fold drive had been damaged more than his engineers realized. Now they drifted in space with failing systems and no way to run. Get that drive working, Kresh roared at his engineering crew. Now! We need at least 3 hours to repair it, war leader. Kresh knew they didn't have 3 hours. The humans would come for him. He could feel it in his bones. These weren't like the soft Union species. These were predators, and they had tasted blood. He was right. On the silent Requiem, Admiral Kang studied the tactical display. The damaged Kethrid flagship was a sitting target. 3 escort ships circled it protectively, but they were no match for Earth's frigates. Commander Tay, what's the status of your teams? Kang asked. Station is secure, sir. We're treating wounded and doing damage assessment. We can have strike teams ready in 20 minutes. Negative. Let someone else have this one. Kang switched channels. Lieutenant Sung-Ho, are you still in that stolen fighter? Sung-Ho's voice came through, barely containing his excitement. Yes, sir. And I have an idea that's either brilliant or insane. With you, it's usually both. What do you need? Give me 15 more fighters and all the explosives we have left. I'm going to show these Kethrid what happens when you make Earth angry. Kang authorized it. Within minutes, Sung-Ho led a squadron of 16 fighters toward the crippled flagship. They moved fast, using the debris field from the destroyed ships as cover. The Kethrid escort ships saw them coming and opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked through space. 2 Earth fighters took hits and spun away, damaged but intact. The pilots ejected safely. Sung-Ho didn't slow down. He flew straight at the flagship's hangar bay, his fighters' weapons blazing. The other pilots followed him in a tight formation. They looked like angry hornets attacking a bear. Inside the flagship, Kresh grabbed a plasma rifle. All warriors to the hangar bay. Repel boarders! But Sung-Ho didn't plan to board. He flew his fighter into the hangar at full speed, fired every missile he had at the fuel storage tanks, and ejected at the last second. His fighter crashed into the tanks and exploded. The other 15 fighters did the same, one after another. 16 explosions in quick succession. The entire hangar bay became an inferno. Sung-Ho's escape pod tumbled through space until a Earth frigate caught it with a tractor beam. Inside the pod, Sung-Ho laughed like a maniac. Did you see that? Did you see it? That was amazing. On the station, the battle had left deep scars. Corporal Wu Jin moved through the medical bay, treating the wounded. Fellerans and humans lay side by side on medical tables. Some injuries were minor, some were not. A young Velaran female had been hit by plasma fire. The wound was bad, burning through her side. Wu Jin worked quickly, his hands steady despite the severity. He cleaned the wound, applied synthetic skin, and started an IV drip. Am I going to die? She asked weakly. Not today, Wu Jin said firmly. I don't lose patience, ever. So you're going to live because I said so. Understand? She managed a weak smile. Yes, doctor. Wu Jin moved to the next patient, then the next. He had 3 assistants helping him, but there were too many wounded. His hands started to shake from exhaustion. He ignored it and kept working. Captain Jia found him 4 hours later, still treating patients. Doc, you need to rest. I'll rest when everyone is stable. That's an order from your superior officer. Wu Jin looked up at her with tired eyes. Are you going to shoot me if I don't obey? Jia almost smiled. No, but I'll have 2 soldiers carry you to your quarters. Then you'll need at least 4 soldiers. I'll fight back. They stared at each other. Then Jia sighed. Fine, but drink this. She handed him a protein shake and an energy pill. You're no good to anyone if you collapse. Wu Jin took them and went back to work. On Kresh's flagship, the fire from the hangar bay spread through the ship. The life support system started failing. Smoke filled the corridors. Kresh knew his ship was dying. He gathered his remaining warriors, about 50 of them. We fight to the last, he told them. Death before surrender. That is the Kethrid way. They roared in agreement, pounding their weapons against their armor. Commander Tay heard the transmission. The Kethrid were broadcasting their death oath on all frequencies. They wanted the universe to know they went down fighting. Should we finish them, Commander? One of his officers asked. Tay thought about it. The Kethrid had killed innocent Velerans. They were raiders and slavers. They deserved death, but they were also trapped on a dying ship, no longer a threat. He opened a channel to Kresh's flagship. War Leader Kresh, this is Commander Tae Yoon of Earth. Your ship is dead. Your fleet is destroyed. You have one chance to surrender. Kresh's laugh came through the speakers, harsh and bitter. Humans, the primitives? You did this? We did. Impossible. The Galactic Union said Earth was weak. They said humans were prey animals who stumbled into space by accident. They were wrong. Tae said simply, surrender now. You'll be treated according to Union law. Fight, and we'll let your ship burn with you inside it. There was a long silence. Then Kresh spoke again, quieter this time. If I surrender, my warriors will call me a coward. If you die, your warriors die with you. That's not bravery. That's waste. Another silence. Tae waited. He didn't particularly want to kill them all, but he would if he had to. Finally, Kresh's voice came back. We will surrender, but only to you, Commander, not to the Velerans, not to the Union, to Earth. Agreed. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. 30 minutes later, Tae walked through the damaged flagship with a security team. They found Kresh in the cargo bay, surrounded by his warriors. All of them had laid down their weapons. Kresh stared at Tae, studying the human who had destroyed his fleet. You're smaller than I expected. We usually are, Tae replied. Size isn't everything. How did you get here so fast? The nearest Union fleet is weeks away. We have fast ships. Faster than fold space? Much faster. Kresh was silent for a moment, processing this information. The galaxy doesn't know what you are. They think Earth is harmless. Tae's expression didn't change. We prefer it that way. Makes it easier when we need to be somewhere in a hurry. Earth Marines secured the Kethrid prisoners and transported them to holding cells on the Silent Requiem. Kresh went last, his massive form barely fitting through the shuttle door. As he passed Tae, he stopped. Commander, a question. Why did you come? The Valorans are not human. They owe you nothing. Why risk your lives for strangers? Tae met his eyes. Because they called for help. That's reason enough. Kresh shook his head slowly. The galaxy will fear you when they learn of this. Maybe, Tae said. Or maybe they'll learn that Earth answers when someone calls. That's up to them to decide. Back on the station, Ambassador Thelmora stood in the observation deck looking at the Earth ships. 4 vessels that had crossed impossible distances, fought impossible odds, and won. She tried to understand how Admiral Kang found her there. He had arrived with the support fleet, bringing medical supplies and repair equipment. Admiral, she said softly, thank you. Those words aren't enough, but they're all I have. They're enough, Kang replied. How are your people? Alive because of you. We lost 147 Velerans before you arrived, but we would have lost all 3,000 if you hadn't come. She turned to face him. How did you get here so fast? We have experimental technology, fold space drives that work differently than Union models. They're dangerous and unstable, but they're fast. Will you share this technology with the Union? Kang was quiet for a moment. No, our drives have a failure rate of 1%. That means 1 in every 100 ships that uses them is torn apart in fold space. We accept those odds because we choose to, but we won't make that choice for others. Thelmora understood. The technology was a gift and a curse. The Union will want to know about this. They'll want to study your ships, your tactics. Let them want, Kang said calmly. Earth shares what we choose to share, when we choose to share it. Today we chose to save lives. Tomorrow, we might choose something else. In the medical bay, the last patient was stabilized. Woojin finally allowed himself to sit down. He had been working for 6 hours straight. His hands were steady again, but his mind was exhausted. Sergeant Yuri found him there, asleep in a chair. She put a blanket over him and dimmed the lights. He had saved 43 lives today. He deserved the rest. The battle for Refuge Station was over. Earth's shadows had arrived first, and the galaxy would never be the same. The news spread across the Galactic Union at the speed of light. It traveled through relay stations and communication hubs, reaching every member species within days. The message was simple and shocking. Earth had saved Refuge Station. The humans had crossed 47 light-years in 31 hours and defeated a Kethrid siege force. In the Union Council chambers on Central Station, the representatives gathered for an emergency session. There were 147 species in the council, and all of them were talking at once. The chamber was chaos. The council speaker, an ancient Xylar named Torvan, raised his 3 arms for silence. It took several minutes for the noise to die down. We are here to discuss the incident at Refuge Station, Torvan said. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the underlying tension. The humans claim they traveled 47 light years in 31 hours. This is impossible with current fold space technology. Yet they did it, said the Valoran representative, standing to address the council. I have spoken with Ambassador Thelmora. She confirms everything. The humans arrived when no one else could. They saved 3,000 lives. Wow, demanded the Kethrid representative. What technology do they possess? They won't say, the Valoran replied. And frankly, after what they did for my people, I don't think we have the right to demand answers. The chamber erupted in argument again. Some species wanted Earth to share its technology. Others worried about the military implications. A few suggested that Earth should be punished for developing weapons in secret. The human representative, Ambassador Hana Kim, waited patiently for her turn to speak. She was the same Hana who had intercepted the distress signal on Luna. She had been promoted after the mission, given the position she never wanted but deserved. The council recognizes Ambassador Kim, Torvan said. Hana stood. She was small compared to most aliens in the chamber, barely reaching chest height on the nearest representative, but her voice carried clearly. Earth did what any decent species would do, she said. We heard a call for help and we responded. We didn't ask for permission. We didn't debate the cost. We simply went. You violated Union protocols, said the Kethrid representative angrily. Military actions require council approval. It wasn't a military action, Hana replied. It was a rescue operation. There's a difference. You destroyed 8 Kethrid ships. The Kethrid ships were committing an act of piracy and mass murder. We stopped them. If the Union has a problem with that, we'll be happy to discuss it. But we won't apologize for saving lives. The chamber fell silent. Hana's words hung in the air like a challenge. Finally, the Yithian representative spoke. The Yithians were one of the oldest species in the Union, known for their wisdom. Ambassador Kim, please understand our concern. Your species developed a technology that breaks the fundamental laws of space travel. You kept this secret while pretending to follow Union protocols. How can we trust you? Hana met the alien's eyes. You can trust us because we just proved you can. We had the power to arrive first, to claim Refuge Station, to demand payment or favors. We didn't. We saved the Valorans and left. We asked for nothing in return. But you have the power to do anything, the Yithian said softly. You can reach any system in days instead of weeks. You can strike before anyone knows you're coming. This changes the balance of power in the galaxy. Yes, Hana agreed. It does. And Earth chooses to use that power to help, not to conquer. That should tell you everything you need to know about us. On Refuge Station, the repair work continued. Earth engineers worked alongside Valoran technicians, fixing the damage from the battle. It would take months to fully restore the station, but at least it could be saved. Commander Tay walked through the corridors inspecting the repairs. He found Ambassador Thelmora in the memorial garden, planting new flowers to replace those destroyed in the fighting. They're arguing about us on Central Station, Thelmora said without looking up. Some want to punish Earth. Some want to worship you. Most just want to understand how you did it. And you? Tay asked. What do you want? Thelmora finally looked at him. I want to understand why. Your admiral said you came because we called for help. But there must be more to it than that. You risked your lives for strangers. You lost soldiers in this battle. Why? Tay was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to explain. On Earth we have a saying, no one left behind. It started in our military, but it became something more. It means we don't abandon people. We don't let them die alone. We don't ignore calls for help just because it's inconvenient or dangerous. But we're not human. We're not even from your planet. That doesn't matter, Tay said simply. You needed help. We could provide it. The math was simple. The math was terrible, Thelmora pointed out. You were outnumbered. You could have died. We could have, Tay agreed. But we didn't. And 3,000 Valorans are alive because we tried. Thelmora was silent, absorbing his words. Finally she said, the galaxy isn't used to species like yours. We're used to cautious diplomacy, careful negotiations, balanced trade agreements. No one just helps anymore, not without expecting something in return. Then the galaxy needs to learn a new way, Tay said. Earth is here now, and we're not going to change who we are just because it makes people uncomfortable. In the medical bay, Corporal Wu Jin was training Valoran doctors in human trauma care techniques. The Valorans were skilled healers, but they approached medicine differently. Wu Jin showed them how humans combined aggressive treatment with rapid triage. You can't save everyone, one Valoran doctor said sadly. Sometimes you have to let the severely wounded die to save others. That's a choice you can make, Wu Jin replied. But Earth doesn't make that choice. We fight for every life even when it seems hopeless. Sometimes we lose anyway, but we never stop trying. The Valoran doctor looked at the human with new understanding. That's why your mortality rate is lower than ours. You simply refuse to accept death. Something like that. Wu Jin agreed. On the silent requiem, Admiral Kang prepared to return to Earth. His mission was complete. The Valorans were safe. The Kethrid were captured. It was time to go home, but first he had one more task. He opened a secure channel to all Union frequencies. What he was about to say would be heard by every species in the galaxy. This is Admiral Day Kang, United Earth Space Command, broadcasting on all channels. Today I want to make something clear to everyone listening. Earth is new to the Galactic Union. We're still learning your customs and protocols. But there's one thing we won't compromise on. When someone calls for help, we answer. He paused, letting his words sink in. We don't care if you're human or alien. We don't care if you're Union members or independent worlds. We don't care if you're rich or poor, powerful or weak. If you're in danger and you call for help, Earth will hear you. And Earth will come. Some of you will call this arrogant. Some will say we're interfering in galactic affairs. Some will fear what we can do. That's your choice. But understand this. We will not stand by while innocent people die. We will not ignore distress signals because they're inconvenient. We will not let distance or danger stop us from helping those in need. The fold space drive that brought us here is ours. We built it. We tested it. We accept its risks. We won't share the technology because we won't force those risks on others, but we will use it whenever and wherever we're needed. To any species or individual listening to this message, you are not alone. You are not forgotten. If you ever need help, call out. Earth's shadows will arrive first, the message ended. Across the galaxy, beings of every shape and size heard it. Some were inspired. Some were afraid. Some were angry. But all of them understood. Earth had changed the rules. On Luna, Lieutenant Hana sat in the communications center monitoring the responses. Messages flooded in from across the galaxy. Some thanked Earth. Some condemned them. Some simply asked, "Will you really come if we call?" She answered each one the same way. "Yes, we will come." Days later, the first test came. A mining colony on the edge of Union space sent a distress signal. Pirates were attacking. They needed help. The nearest Union fleet was 3 weeks away. Hana forwarded the message to Admiral Kang without hesitation. "How fast can we get there?" Kang asked Commander Tay. 42 hours, sir. Then we leave in 30 minutes. Wake the Shadow Fleet, Tay smiled. Yes, sir. In the depths of space, 4 black ships vanished into fold space, racing toward someone who needed help. They moved like shadows, like whispers, like promises kept. On Refuge Station, Ambassador Thelamora stood at the window watching the stars. She thought about the humans who had saved her people. She thought about their message to the galaxy. And she smiled. "Thank you," she whispered to the darkness. "Thank you for showing us what we could be." In the memorial garden, new flowers bloomed among the old. Life continued. Hope remained. And somewhere in the universe, someone called for help. Earth heard them. Earth always heard. And Earth's shadows were already on their way, arriving first as promised. Because that's what humans did. They ran toward danger instead of away from it. They helped strangers without asking for payment. They refused to let people die alone in the dark. The galaxy was learning what it meant to have humans among the stars. It was learning that Earth kept its promises. It was learning that when you called into the void, sometimes the void answered back, and sometimes that answer came in the form of shadows that had teeth, voices that spoke of hope, and hands that pulled you back from the edge of death. The message was clear and simple. Earth was listening. Earth was coming, and no one would be left behind, not today, not ever. The shadows had arrived, and they were here to stay.